in a little bit. We don't need them immediately, but if you got something to work with, that's great. So,
You good there?
you rolling?
Yeah.
So this class is on offensive recovery. When I talk about universal principles of combat, I covered this in the tavern the other night, but there's 5 things that are happening on each side of the fight throughout the entire fight. 5 of them offensively, 5 of them defensively. I'll just go through real quick. First is range, offensive range, and then there's target recognition, there's shot selection, and then there's delivery and there's recovery. Defensively, there is again range or measure. There is blow recognition, like what's coming in at me. There's defensive selection, like how I'm going to account for that blow. And then there's delivery and recovery as well. When you're looking at the defense, you see something coming at your head, you can choose to block that with your shield, or you can choose to block that with your sword. But however you choose to block that, you have to put your shield back in a position to get back to guard where you were, right? So on the offensive side, like I said, there's range, target recognition, which is identifying the target that is available to you. There's shot selection, where you're choosing what shot you're going to throw to get to that. Then there's delivery and there's recovery. Okay, recovery, offensive recovery. When you throw a shot out there, you need to get your hand back in a position where you can throw again. Right? Offensive recovery, in my humble estimation, is the single greatest failing in our sport. It is the one thing that people fail to do most frequently. A lot of times what you see, you get out there like this and somebody goes gangbusters, balls out, shot, and throws this good hard shot out there, and then bing, 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 and they're trying to get to the next thing faster after that. Okay? That is a failure of offensive recovery. Does it make sense? And that's the thing, that's what this class is about, is being able to get that recovery back. So there are 2 parts to offensive recovery. The first is the physical recovery, where you're putting your, once you throw a shot out, with a flat snap, the physical recovery is putting your hand back in a position where you have good mechanics to throw the next shot. Okay? The second part of offensive recovery is actually target recognition. Okay? If you are doing your pel work, everybody's doing pel work, right?
Yeah.
So, if you have your mechanics in your muscle memory, you don't have to tell your body how to deliver a flat snap. Your body knows how to do that. Okay? Likewise, you should not have to tell your body how to do recovery, how to get your hand back through your shoulder again to have a good delivery for the next one. Okay? So because you don't have to expend mental capacity telling your arm how to get back to your shoulder, we have mental capacity available for doing target recognition. Okay? So as I complete the one, as I'm getting this back to my shoulder, okay, now when I talk about my shoulder, I believe that good stick mechanics rotate through the point of your shoulders. Okay? So if you're fighting in an A-frame, you're fighting like this, like wherever your sword starts from in your guard, that's where your sword needs to get back to for your recovery. Okay? Make sense? So, as you're completing you finish the delivery, as your hand is coming back to your shoulder, now you're doing target recognition. What's available to me? And what this gives us is the ability, it gives us basically the gift of time that we do not think that we have. In a speed-based sport, we think that we have to get to the next thing faster, right? I'm of the belief we don't necessarily need to get to the next thing faster, we need to get to the next thing better. And that means making better decisions about the blows that you're throwing, okay? In the delivery, as we're throwing a shot out, there are a number of resources. Sorry, I'm going to put that. There are a number of resources that are necessary to deliver a telling blow. Okay, there's range, There's timing, there's mechanics, you know, there's all these things that kind of have to happen in order for us to be able to get a good telling blow on our opponent. Okay. I believe one of the things that people miss most frequently in those resources is why. Why are you throwing the blows that you're throwing? Okay? When you make better decisions about the blows that you're throwing, the resources you need to deliver a telling blow are inherently present in ways they are not when you're trying to make something happen. If you're trying to force a shot through somebody's defense because, man, I just really want to get it through there, oftentimes you're so fixated on hitting a particular target that you are missing out on a lot of other targets that are just easier to get to, right? So the recovery portion of this, the target recognition portion of this, gets us back to where we are making better decisions about the blows that we're throwing. So by the time your hand gets back to your shoulder, you have identified the next real target. And it's the target that is actually open, not the target that you want to be open. And again, when you're making better decisions about this, the shots that you're throwing are just easier. They take less resources, or those resources are already there. Does that make sense? So one of the things that we see as an example of this and how it kind of manifests is, say for instance, again, so we're thinking about like we're trying to get shots off faster because it's a speed-based sport, right? And one of the things this is going to do when we get to the drill that we're going to be doing for this is, for those speed-based fighters, this is actually going to slow down your fight. But slowing down your fight and giving yourself that time is going to allow you to make better decisions, which means you're going to be putting less work into your fight. So even though it's slower, right, the hand speed is slower. Processing speed, the rate at which we process information, the rate at which we make the decisions in the fight is far more important than hand speed and delivery speed. Okay? Again, if we can make better decisions, things just get easier. Okay? One of those ways that we see this manifest is, say for instance, I throw a flat snap out here, my hands start coming back to my shoulder, well now I see the leg. Like, aha, there's a leg there. So now I'm trying to get to that leg faster, right? So what ends up happening is you get halfway into your recovery, you actually have to stop your sword so that you can generate motion going the other way to be able to get to this shot. Okay? So while you may make contact with that target faster, you're definitely not making contact better, right? Because coming from here and then trying to cut down on a leg, the mechanics really don't exist to do that. You don't have the stick rotation, and you're actually having, so again, you have to stop your stick and then start it again. A majority of the time that it takes for us to deliver a blow is expended in generating motion. An object in motion tends to stay in motion, an object at rest tends to stay at rest, right? So this is the sort of counterintuitive part. We have it in our head that, you know, I have to get to this next shot faster. The reality is this: if I'm throwing this flat snap here, as I recover, when I see that target, it is actually faster for me to complete the recovery because it's in continuous motion and then deliver after that. It's actually faster than it is trying to cut down in the middle of that shot, because again, you have to stop it and then you have to start it again. You have to generate motion again. Does that make sense? So the other thing about this is, as you're in that recovery, you see that leg open. By the time your stick gets to your shoulder, if that target is still there, your hand is in a better position to deliver better mechanics on that target, right? Now, if you get your hand back to your shoulder and that target's not there anymore, it tells us two things. First and foremost, that target was never that good in the first place. And secondly, it tells us there's something else open somewhere else, right? There has to be a target open all the time. You cannot possibly cover everything. Targets present themselves. They can't not present themselves. There's always a target somewhere. And if you are open to the possibility that that target can be anywhere and that it doesn't have to be in a particular location, you open up your peripheral vision to be able to see the targets and let them present themselves, right? Again, by the time your stick gets to your shoulder, you've now identified the next real target, the better target, and the one that's easier to get to, and you have better hand mechanics to be able to deliver that. Does that make sense? Any questions on this so far? Okay. So that's the essence of recovery and why I think it's important. And like I said, the kind of counterintuitive, look on it. It's like I have to get something faster. So again, you're like bing, 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 and you're trying to throw a lot of shots faster. Whereas if you just take that extra time to process better, and how much time are we talking about? How much more time does it take to finish through the shoulder to deliver that? Half a heartbeat, microseconds, milliseconds, maybe, right? And you have to consider giving yourself this gift of time. And again, it is going to slow down your fight. But what that does is it gives you a better vision for the fight. It allows you to see the fight more accurately. And when you respond to actual data and actual information in the fight instead of throwing what feels good, fighting really just gets easier. Make sense? Okay. Okay, so the drill that I created to address recovery. So it turns out as we're looking at deficiencies in your fight, we're looking at what changes to make and what things to fix. Curiously enough, I find, again, humble opinion, fixing offensive recovery a lot of times will coincidentally fix many other ancillary problems, not the least of which is offensive delivery. Again, where you're putting your hand in a better position to have access to targets and better mechanics to get to those things. So offensive recovery is one of the biggest, it's one of the things I see more frequently, and I fix first because it leads to so many other things. So I've created a drill for this, which is, as I'm told, is one of the most useful things that I've ever come up with, for sure, myself. I got other drills that I got from other people, but it's one of the most universal tools that I have. It can be used for many, many different things, but it is primarily a recovery drill, okay? This is what I call the 2-second drill. So the concept of the 2-second drill is, again, slowing down your fight so you can throw the shot, complete that recovery. Stephanie, we were talking about this the other day. Have you worked with it at all?
Tiny little bit.
What do you think?
Yes, I love the idea of it. But it's going to take me some time to get
Sure.
it right, I think.
This drill will let you do that.
Brilliant.
Okay? So, it's a 2-second drill. So, while this is primarily a recovery drill, this also addresses two very common problems at both ends of the fighting spectrum. Okay? So for the newer fighter, a lot of newer fighters, thank you for showing up, Angela, this is you. A lot of newer fighters are looking for target zones that are like this big. And they're not throwing at these shots because they don't feel like their mechanics are good enough to be able to get to those things. Okay? And what ends up happening is you end up spending this time convincing yourself that you can't get to that target. Right? You miss 100% of the shots you don't throw. Right? So the first part of this drill is frequency of blows. Okay? This is so you're going to be throwing at least once every 2 seconds, but not more than twice in 1 second. Okay? The idea of throwing once every 2 seconds is, again, the idea that the more we throw at the smaller target zone, the more we throw at the less perfect target, the smaller your target zone becomes. Okay? I think I was watching you yesterday. You have the mechanics to do this. You just don't believe in it. Right? And what you're going to find by firing, how much target do you need? Bare minimum.
Sword.
All right.
How much do I need?
So, inch and 3 inch to hand. So my tape on this is 1/2 inch tape. If you give me a 1/2 inch, I'll take the rest. Right? If you have an 1 1/4 inch, 1 1/2 of target, a legal target, take a shot at it. Right? And what this does with this frequency of blows is it kind of keeps you from taking that time to convince yourself that you can't do something. And the more you throw at the smaller target zones, the less perfect targets, the smaller your target zone becomes, And also what you find out is your mechanics are better than you think they are. Yes, I'm pointing at you because I watched this yesterday. Okay, so at least once every 2 seconds. Okay, so the other side of the spectrum is that, you know, experienced fighter that wants to get off as many shots as they possibly can and just overwhelm their opponent. Just basically, it's just pure aggression. I'm just going to throw more shit down range and hope something sticks. Right? They're trying to get off as many shots as they can. And so the second part of this will slow down that fight so that we can actually encourage that recovery, so we can encourage that target recognition portion, so we can take more time to make better decisions, right? So the frequency of blows is at least once every 2 seconds.
Please be aware, the archery field is once again open. Thank you.
So the dramatic thing brings up a point that I probably should have wrote. It usually comes up when talking about so I'm going to show you the
So frequency of blows is at least once every 2 seconds, not more than twice in 1 second. Okay? You bring your shield too? Why don't you come out here? So, this is a drill we can do. At the very least, have some sword and board. You don't have to have your armor on. If you do have your armor on, you can do full speed delivery, full speed recovery. So, and what we're looking for as we throw these shots. I'm mostly going to be hitting your shield. I'm just going to go through the. Why don't you step out here just a little bit more? I'm just going to give you an idea about the pace of this. Okay. Probably hitting your shield. Okay. So it's basically what we're basically looking for is basically fire, shoulder, fire, shoulder, fire, recover. Okay. And in the drill, the trainee is going to be throwing 15 shots at that frequency. Okay. The trainer is going to provide opportunities for them to make decisions about the blows they're throwing. So as she throws one out at me, maybe I throw a block and flat snap, and I may exaggerate that. And then I'm going to let this block linger a little bit so that she can make a decision, right? Because if I'm just standing here and like block, 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 it's just all the same thing. The whole point of being the trainer in this role, and next class I'm doing is how to do drills, so I'll cover that a little bit more, the roles in the drill. But for starters, I'm just going to show you basically what frequency we're looking at. So even on armor, I can do a little bit more delivery, a little faster delivery. A lot of people end up kind of doing this a little bit too slow, but obviously, us being unarmored, you don't want to break your choice, right? So. That's about the frequency that we're looking at. Okay? So, now you're going to do it. You're going to be the trainee. I'm going to be the trainer. So what I'm going to do is you throw a shot. I'm going to block it. I'm going to let that linger a little bit. I want you to make a decision about what shot's next. Okay? As I was saying, as you throw the one out here, all of this time here is target recognition. This is where you're finding your next target. Okay? As I was talking to Stefan the other day, sometimes you can do faster recovery and then maybe a little linger on the recovery. Give yourself just maybe a little pause and then fire.
We are trying to get.
Does that make sense? Again, the important part of this is you're making a decision about the next target you're going to fire. And I'm going to be providing you targets for you to shoot. Okay, ready? Let's hit that line.
Never mind. Thank you.
You see how you threw into my shield and then you threw into my shield? Yeah. Are we good? Process it. Okay? Right here. Again, you have 15 shots. There you go.
So what you do, just like that Eastern martial arts, instead of coming forward.
Let's do it again. I want you to do the delivery just over time.
Is it moving all right?
Oh, sorry about that. That's a very good question. Anytime you're doing a drill that you're not comfortable with, you haven't started, you've only done it for the first time, we're going to start as a static drill. You're going to find your range so that you can have just good solid D-range mechanics. As you get more comfortable with the drill, then you can kind of make it a little more dynamic and moving around a little bit more. But in the beginning and today, as you guys do this drill, it's just going to be static drill, right? Again, you can start changing that up later as you get more comfortable with it. But for starters, I want you to be firing hands to the back. Just a little bit without lifting my head.
Your opponents here, you're not likely to but if you're done, especially like a lefty maybe, right? Like, or if you're right to forward, then you can do it.
If we're going to pull something and pull something back, armored up,
And I wanted you to do it first.
yeah, you can make better decisions. The actual target's presenting itself. Yeah, like I said, it will slow down your fight, but slowing down your fight is what is going to allow you to see the fight more accurately. And if you're responding more accurately, you're just making better decisions. So, those that have their swordboard, their offense, defense, let's go ahead and pair up a little bit and have you run through this. Also, part of recovery is throw one. There you
A few years back, I shot resonated, but I never managed to come through it. Yeah. So I see the gap and I want
Too fast.
Okay, hang on a second. So you, as the trainer, you are going to exaggerate your blocks. So as she throws, if she throws it offside, maybe you shove yes. I saw it. And you're going to let that linger as well. Like, damn it. And then, because what you're doing is you have to provide her an opportunity to make decisions. Again, if you're just in your static defense, you're going to block. You're just turning it to whatever it is. So you're trying to, as the trainer, we're trying to encourage the decision-making process. So yeah, do some exaggerated blocks, let the block hang there a little bit. Now you're blocking over the makes sense because it gives her more opportunity to actually do
And I know it's kind of weird.
Okay, hang on a second. I'm going to say, again, without ripping his head off, a little faster on the delivery speed. Okay. Yep. Because we're looking for the slow, maybe a little faster on the delivery speed, it's going to slow down the recovery. If the recovery, we're trying to identify targets. Okay. Right? I think you might be going a little too slow on the delivery and a little too fast on the recovery. Right. Make sense? Yep. See that? Just a little bit. Again, as you're finished the one, maybe pause. Again, let this take a little bit more time because it's like by the time my stick gets to the shoulder, then I'm fine. You know, said, fire, we're talking fire. Doing well about like I'm feeding you targets, I'm exaggerating my velocity. I'm gonna let this hang so you can go for this leg, and then I'm gonna let this hang, right? And it is very exaggerated, but the whole point is you're trying to give him an opportunity to make decisions. I was just talking right over here, and he was just like,
So I was like, oh, right there.
and the chance to do it.
And so the kid's like, oh shit, I can't recover.
All right, have you guys changed up yet?
Yeah.
You both had a chance to do it?
Yeah.
When you rotate, make sure you don't come together. I didn't cover it together as fast.
Is there that really good shot? I'm like, I think I'm going wide. Very defensive. And now I'm doing trying to just always do things about the plan or what.
What's he got?
My old guy was here.
It's kind of again, I don't rotate.
Yeah, I can see how you feel like that. I see it when you're spinning, but it's not. Yeah, pull it up and see. Yeah, pull that. Now with that snap, roll up. Don't blind yourself. Roll up.
I rolled.
Yeah. Curl it. Curl it up.
I don't want to go up. I don't want to do it. It's fine. But I think I took far about
I've been through it several times.
So that's the point that kind of came up organically. What you're really looking for all the way in on.
I'm going to say for the purpose of this drill, I'm doing it because you're going to get there. That's what they're because you can level here to recover. So what we have to right, one of the problems is you're coming off of here and you go to that. You were throwing that off that leg. I forgot to mention that. I'll cover that in just a second. The whole point of this is to make a decision. Instead of doing what feels good. Now look, not that that is not legitimate, but for the purpose of this drill. Right. All right, everybody, let's go ahead and stop. Let's bring it in for a second.
It's out there.
All right. Come in for a second. Okay. So, good work. What do y'all think? How you are going to be able to see the fight more accurately as it develops. Oh, look, there it is.
There's two on there, and it's like, oh, the light came on.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I get this.
And that's the thing. When you take the time to see the fight more accurately, the shots that you need are just easier to get to, right? That's the whole purpose of this drill. Like I said, 2 phases, 2 parts of it. It's the newer fighter who needs to be encouraged to fire more frequently. You can see it, right? Yeah, right? I mean, but that's the thing. You can, right? So just your mechanics are better than they think they are. So it encourages newer fighters to fire more frequently. And for the more advanced fighters, it encourages them to stop, take that extra time to do it. So a couple of things that I commented on as we were doing this, even unarmored, I was telling a lot of you, you can do the delivery a little faster, and the recovery a little shorter. There seem to be,
And with your mind's eye,
right, so kind of slower delivery. We kind of need to keep this, as we do drills, and I'm going to cover this.
if you don't get this, it's okay. It's very advanced.
Drills, we want the drill to become more and more and more like live combat. So that as we do the drill, it's almost like real fight. Okay? So when we're doing this drill, it's okay to go to, you can do faster delivery without more power. Okay? You can get out there, right? Without blasting your opponent. Okay? The other thing I saw was, like I said, as the trainer, when somebody's throwing these shots at you, you need to kind of exaggerate these blocks. You need to exaggerate them and let them linger, because the whole point of this is we're trying to provide opportunity for the trainee to make decisions. So if you're just standing there in your basic stance, you go block, 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 block. And now we're just throwing into the same shots all the time. There's not really that opportunity to make decisions.
Everything was.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you Yeah, exactly. That's what you want to do. It's like, okay, I'm blocking this. And then over here with David, it's like, okay, block this.
And then like this and what as well. When you block my foot, now that's going to be right in my brain, and think about that.
And that's kind of the versatility of this drill, is even as the trainer, there are other things that you can do for yourself in the course of this drill. I was talking the other night about blow recognition, like what shots are coming in at you. As the trainer, while you're letting somebody throw shots at you and you're doing this other stuff, you have an opportunity to do shot cataloging. Okay? Cataloging blows is just, as something comes in, you're just cataloging into up, down, left, right. Okay? And what that gets you is it gets you this sense of, okay, when the shot impacted, it was up or left. Okay? What was the last thing that I saw before I got hit up or left? I saw it right here, and then I saw it right there, and you can kind of track the shot back to its point of origin. Honestly, some fighters occasionally they know that they're beaten, but they don't know where they got hit. So by cataloging, just up, down, left, right, you're creating an awareness for yourself of where blows are landing, so that you at least know what happened. The idea of cataloging blows, it's not for a sense of, oh, Stefan always likes to hit me here, or he likes to do this, or he likes to do it in this order. It is not fighter specific, it is just impact specific. So it's like up, down, left, right, just cataloging where the blows are coming in. So as the trainer in this role, there are other things you can be doing. Like I said, it's a very versatile drill, but it is primarily a recovery of this is completing that recovery, doing that target recognition, putting better mechanics on that shot. What am I going to talk about with you?
In fact, I wasn't
Oh,
completely
yes.
fully recovered.
Yes. For the purpose of this drill, if you do not get your stick back to your shoulder on the successive shots, you need to consider that a failure, right? The thing Stefan did over here is he came off of this and rolled right into an offside leg, okay? Not that that is not a legitimate execution, but for the purpose of this drill, the whole point of this being completing a recovery, making the decision, right? We need to consider that a failure, just for the purpose of the drill. Again, not that it's not good technique, not that it's not valid, but for the purpose of this drill and what we're trying to encourage with that recovery, we need to consider that a failure. So anything that every shot you throw has to get back to the shoulder or back to wherever your starting point is. Okay? So yeah, and I see it not just that one, I see it all the time when we do this drill. Like they're coming off of all these successful shots because, well, that's what you do in your fight because it feels good, right? But for the purpose of this drill, we need to consider that a failure. Okay, that makes sense. So I think we're right at time. Any questions?
I would just add, because I was thinking about some of my stuff, was just trying to where what my brain, what my memory was telling me where the opening was rather than just I was throwing to there, and even though that wasn't.
And that is entirely the purpose of this drill. And that is again, that's a place where when you find that happening, that's where maybe you can increase the delivery speed a little bit and then delay the recovery. To give yourself more time. I mean, not super exaggerated, but a little more delay on the recovery so that you can give yourself time to break the muscle memory so you can be like, where is the next actual push, right? You have something?
And I think
your target zone is going to get smaller. Because again, in the trainer role, we're trying to exaggerate these so you can make better decisions. As you get more comfortable doing this, you are going to be looking for smaller targets, and you are going to be looking for that inch and a quarter. And like you said, it's like, how do I do this? Like, let me find the smallest possible target I can like, try to hone in on. Anything else? Any other questions?
Again, I'm going to reiterate this.
Okay, so that's the essence of this class. Offensive recovery. Complete your recovery. Get your stick back to your shoulder. Throw better mechanics. Make better decisions. And this is drill. You can do this. This is also a good warm-up drill. You start practice with this, right? And get you moving. You know, we all kind of do some slow work to start with. You can both do this, and you get good 15 shots in and get slow and moving a little bit, right? All right, cool. We got another class coming up in just a minute. So thanks for hanging out. Thank you. That's perfect.
Wait, you screwed that up?
It happens all the time. Forget about it. Yeah, for the purpose of